The Soviet Union's B-59 submarine, lurking underwater just a few kilometers from America, was ready to attack. The US Navy then found out and dropped small bombs underwater to bring the submarine up. The captain of the Soviet submarine, who had lost contact with headquarters thousands of kilometers away, sensed that war had begun and that it was time to launch nuclear missiles. It was a time when tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union were to an all-time high, and thousands of nuclear weapons from both countries were just a push of a button away. A Soviet submarine captain is about to press the button for a nuclear missile when something suddenly happens that saves the world from destruction. This event took place on those 12 days in history when the Cold War between America and the Soviet Union was spiraling out of control. What happened was the side effects of the atomic attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II, and the dangerous face of America was seen by the whole world. If anyone could compete with America's power, it was the Soviet Union, because the Soviet Union was the second country to succeed in acquiring nuclear technology immediately after World War II. They conducted a number of nuclear tests and indirectly signaled to America that we are not. As a result, Japan should keep us quiet. This was the time when the Cold War was going on between America and the Soviet Union. Both countries keep their nuclear weapons ready against each other at all times. Whether the attack is from land, air or sea, the world knew very well that if either of the two initiated a nuclear attack, the other would respond with nuclear missile, and the resulting devastation would be worse than Japan's nuclear attack. So much so that it was believed that perhaps 70% of the world's human population would be exposed to it. To make these attacks more effective, American and Soviet bombers were always in the air. Their nuclear submarine also used to hide from each other in international water and just wait for a signal. Apart from this, the US also deployed its nuclear weapons in Turkey and Italy, as both these countries were NATO allies and were very close to the Soviet Union's borders. This strengthened America's position, as it would be much easier to attack the western part of the Soviet Union from here. But when the Soviet Union got this news, the two shared America's decision to deploy their nuclear weapons. No better place for this news is the island of Basiaskaba, just 200 fathoms southeast of America. There was a communist government. How can America digest any situation? In America's view, the Soviet Union's is because the Soviet Union is the stronghold of true communism. Under communism, all business would be under control and participate in peace. While America wanted to introduce a capitalist system in the world, a kind of free market which want to make a profit by doing business. America also wanted to introduce a capitalist system by invading Cuba. But Cuba's owner, Fidel Castro, had the support of the Vietcong, who supplied arms to Cuba. But behind supporting relations with Cuba, the Soviet Union had other ideas in mind. The then Soviet publication Nikita Soviet. Nikita was a publisher with the Soviet state of Cuba, where it was decided that the Union would deploy its ICBM. ICBM is in Cuba and use them to try to prevent an American invasion of Cuba. But its second advantage is that Soviet nuclear warheads are now visible in the South American region under these protects. But its second advantage is that Soviet nuclear warheads are now visible in the South American region under this pretext. No one has even heard of this deal, and the Soviet Union began secretly installing its ICBM, the Cuba, at various locations. But this news became a rumor and spread all over America. Fear and despair spread amongst the people as Soviet nuclear missile were stationed in Cuba, just 200 kilometers from Florida. The White House verified these reports, and during the 1962 state election campaign, the public was assured that the reports were vessels. But to know its true, U.S. Air Force U-2 spy plane is used. Spy planes capture images from above the island of Cuba, clearly showing medium range R-12 and intermediate range R-14 ballistic missile facilities. These images alone were enough to prove that the Soviet Union had tightened its blockade against the American Southwest. The news struck American President John F. Kennedy like a thunderbolt. He decided to launch an airstrike there to teach America a lesson that America was very angry about. The plan was to first destroy the Soviet ICBMs by air strike and then capture the youth in full force, which had already happened. This plan by the American president was actually tantamount to inviting World War III, because a Soviet missile attack on Cuba was actually he considered an attack on the Soviet Union, and if it happened, a nuclear war would start on both sides, which it would then. It is out of the question not to be controlled by anyone. On the other hand, when the Soviet Union learned about America's intention, they prepared to respond to the attack. Also, in this preparation was a Soviet B-59 nuclear submarine, which was mentioned at the beginning of this video. It was ordered to hide in the depths of the Caribbean Sea near Cuba. The submarine's crew and full authority do not need Moscow's permission to launch a nuclear-tipped missile if war broke out. It hid from the US Navy and went so deep in the water that it lost radio communication with Moscow. The US Navy also became suspicious of Soviet submarine involvement, dropping small bombs at that location. He signaled the submarine to come up and identify himself. These bombs dropped by the US Navy were actually depth charge signals. It is an anti-submarine weapon that can destroy an entire submarine if detonated near it. He realized that war had probably begun and now was the time to launch the nuclear trooper missile. Of course, the crew had full authority, but the consent of the 3 officers present in the marine before pressing the nuclear button was crucial. Of the 3 officers, 2 were in favor of launching nuclear torpedo missile and 1 officer was not in favor of the attack. The Vasily Arkhipov says that launching a nuclear missile is too risky. Executive Officer Vasily was Air's Pop and B-59's second in commander, but he decided to go against the other 2 officers and an argument broke out between the 3 on the beach. They also have no confirmation of where the war started. This debate continued for a few minutes and then it was decided that after the beep line was taken to the surface, contact should first be restored with Moscow to understand the real situation. While all this was going on in the B-59 submarine, at the same time to neutralize this admitted tension, a meeting was held between the Russia and American president where it was decided that the Soviet Union would withdraw its nuclear missile from Cuba, but only on this condition: America will not occupy Cuba later. It was a contract that was put before the public, but it was later revealed that the US had also secretly agreed to withdraw its nuclear missile from Italy and Turkey. This 12-day standoff is known today as the world's first missile crisis. During these 12 days, tensions rose to such an extent that both countries sent their nuclear missile into space, which meant that this missile would be destroyed in space if we were alive and the war did not start. And if we did not survive, then this missile will fall directly on its target. But since this crisis has now passed, these nuclear missiles were only loaded into space. On the other hand, when the B-59 submarine reached the surface of Carbon, they contacted Moscow, on the basis of which they were ordered to proceed there to the Soviet Union. Historians believe that Executive Officer Vasily, the architect of the war, was a person whose important decision made the world we live in today. Otherwise, this nuclear war would have caused so much damage that there would have been no trace of humans on this earth.